Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode for the Coaching Conversations podcast. Now, we are on Stitcher, we are on iTunes, and multiple different channels. Please check us out. Now, one of the things that you'll get out of our podcast episodes is a lot of content, a lot of strategy. It's not fluff, it's not concept, yet we really want you to engage with the content and let us know your feedback. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If there's topics you'd love to have us address, we would love to share them with you. Let us know your impact and let us know your feedback. For the past probably 3 or 4 decades, we've had this challenge, and this is the challenge. You know, every year I will sit in some board meetings or L&D team meetings, and I'll even meet with an executive team, depending on the company and where we've worked with that particular company. We always hear this at the end of the year. No matter what group we're in, HR, executive team, training team, talent development team, L&D team, it doesn't matter. We always hear we need more training. Training is not the problem. Now, what happens is if a leader absolves him or herself of coaching and mentoring, which is 2 of the greatest forms of reinforcement for learning, and say we need more training, what they're doing is something called the transfer of ownership. Let me tell you a quick story. This happened with a wealth management firm. I've told this story before. And I sat down. I was invited by the CEO of this company. And the CEO said, would you sit in? We're struggling with some objections. We're struggling with some sales. I would love to get your opinion. Could you come in and observe? And I said, sure. Now, when someone says come in and observe, that does not mean, Tim, interrupt, insert yourself, which I struggle with because I want to help. And so I just sat there. And all of a sudden, the CEO turns to me and says, well, Tim, you're kind of quiet. And up to this point, the head of sales, the VP of sales at this wealth management firm said, we need a training course on negotiation skills and objection handling. And the 2 ladies from the training department are taking notes feverishly. They're writing down everything they need. And I am just cringing. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Of course, I don't say anything. The CEO says, well, Tim, you're awful quiet. You know, what's going through your mind? I said, well, you wanted me to observe. I don't want to insert myself. And the VP looks at me and says, no, I'd be open to your feedback. I said, nah, I don't think you will. I said, I don't think you're going to like what I have to say. And he said, no, I really want to hear it. So I started talking about the challenges with training. I actually forget what I said in the beginning. And then I started to ask some questions. And finally, this VP said to me, goes, well, can I ask you something? Do you have much experience in wealth management services? And I want everyone to really hear this. That is such a ridiculous response. Remember, he's the one who called the meeting because he had needs. The CEO asked me in. And that's a deflection. What does industry experience have to do with it? And so I said, no, I really don't. And he said, okay. And he started laughing. He goes, well, I think, you know, when you come in to sell a company, you should really be prepared for that question. And he started laughing. I said, well, wait a minute. I said, are you under the impression I'm in a sales meeting? He said, yeah. I turned back to the CEO. The CEO goes, no, Tim is not here to sell us. I asked him as a favor to come in here and listen to see if he could help us. So I looked back at the VP. I said, well, now I'd like to really dive into this if you're cool with it. I could see the air go out of him. He said, well, sure. I said, how long have you been doing this? He said, I think it was like 17 years. And I said, wow, you have a lot of experience. He said, I do. And I go, and you're the one with the problem. And the CEO started smiling. The 2 ladies in training started smiling. The VP was not smiling. And I said, look, I'm going to ask you a question. And I'm going to put you on the spot because I feel a little put on the spot here. And I think I've been labeled. I said, I was here to help, and I'm happy to help. What is your top objection your people face? He said, we have the highest fees in the industry. I said, great. What do you have your people saying and doing right now, specific to the response system you would like them to say in that moment? He said, well, that's why we need a training department. I said, or a training program. I said, so you literally have your people saying, oh, we're going through a training program? What do you have them saying in that moment? He said, you know, I'm really getting irritated with this. I go, that's okay, because we're going to get to the heart of this. Training is not your issue. I turned back to the 2 ladies. I said, ladies, I don't mean to undermine you. I'm not trying to be offensive. Do you have any wealth management experience? Have you ever sold wealth management services? They go, no. I said, so now I'm going to go back to you, Mr. VP, and share they answered the same way I did with the objection you had for me, which was my industry experience, yet you want them to create a training program. And the CEO sits forward and goes, boy, this is interesting. And I said, what do you have them saying and doing? Third time, he would not answer me. I said, okay, I'm going to try this another way. How often do your people practice? He said, we don't have time to role play. We're on the phones all day long. I said, so you're going to do a training program. You're going to come back. You're not going to practice it. You're not going to have it reinforced. You can't even define expectations, which in all due respect, ladies, you probably don't know what those expectations are because he can't define it. You've never sold wealth management services. This is the training syndrome. So the reason I bring all of this up, I think the same thing's going to happen with leaders in AI. We're going to say, well, just let's have them sign on to AI. Remember, we need learners who want to get better. We need learners who are willing to practice their skills. Here is my prediction. Coaching is going to accelerate because AI is going to prompt more and more, I would say, strenuous and important conversations. Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagen and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21-day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.